Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to this summit, and also I would like to thank you for devoting a panel on sport and sport investment in this summit, which I think highlights the importance that is being given to this growing sector. I'm the Qatar University. I'm the head of sports science program over there. The program has been initiated in 2011. And our goal is to contribute to knowledge about sport and sport sciences, which is now becoming, involving a number of sciences. And alhamdulillah, because Qatar deserves the best, we managed to now, for every year, to publish in high impact factors journals around 30 to 40 publications on a yearly basis. And a coincidence, one of our colleagues is meeting today one of the inventors from Qatar Sports Tech, from human analysis, to talk about some of their prototypes. So things are getting really interesting in terms of partnership, and I think Qatar University can contribute to that. So with regards to content, don't know. So how is to move to the next slide? Okay. Thank you very much. I will be offering a general overview about sport investment globally and sport investment particularly in Qatar, and I will finish with highlighting some of the opportunities and challenges around sports investment. If we look at some of figures, in terms of how the sport investment is growing, so it's now is becoming evolving and is becoming more complex. Those are some latest data, but from different reports. If we look at the global sports industry, now it is estimated at the size of 614 billion by 2022. So it's growing and is gaining momentum. The US, of course, is leading the market, which accounts for 30% of the global markets, and followed by China and Japan. In 2019, the global sports media rights rocketed to $51 billion. In 2018, more than 1.7 million people worked in the field of sports in the European Union. The value of the MENA region when it comes to sports and events industries stands now at approximately 60 billion Qatari riyal and 30 billion respectively. And by the way, I would like to mention here the work that is being done by Jussur Institute, which is part of the Supreme Committee, to map out the sports market industry in the region, and we need more work, more studies to find out about, reliable data that we can use, for our research on the impacts of sports in the region. The global sports system is becoming more complex and involving a network of stakeholders and sectors with a different, sometimes conflicting interests. Some sectors in sports are more dominated than others when it comes to public and private funding, because they are deemed to be more lucrative and attracting more viewers and fans who are potential customers and consumers, and those therefore offer a greater exposure for products and brands. One need here to strike the right balance between involvement in sports as a business and an industry and involvement for or investment for sports to promote the value of sports, including participation for all in sports. In relation to investment in sports in the region, the goal has been to, as well highlighted by Mr. Jabir, is to establish a global reputation of leading destination for international sports events in the region, to open the region to the world of business and finance, sponsoring of mega sports events, so the place being now branded as the place to make business, because it's safe and it's credible. And also credible, when it comes to safety and, So also there's a significant rise of entertainment industry, including in the sports channels and films and music industries. The region is now becoming a new destination for athletes and coaches. Many of the, while before the migration in sports was from, let's say, from south to north, now we have seen many new trends in terms of the migration of elite athletes and sports scientists and sport coaches from north to the south, and Qatar becoming one of the hub when it comes to attracting expertise in relation to sports. And there is also the idea of maintaining a tradition of authentic sport culture. So while Qatar and other countries in the region are investing in elite sports, they are keen on investing in maintaining a traditional sporting culture, and we see it with camel racing and horse riding and horse racing and falconry and other traditional sports. So the idea is to reconcile between global trends in sports with local sporting traditions. So I think this is important when it comes to Qatar and how it's branding itself in relation to the promotion of sports. And here, the contribution of Islamic culture and Islamic, sporting culture, I think is important. Sport is becoming also at the center of city branding, use of sports for the branding of the city and urban regeneration of the city, and the promotion of the city like Doha and other places like Dubai and others, in the GCC as a place, for, to attract tourists and visitors. And using sports to develop other sectors. So we talk about sport, we talk about construction, we talk about banking, we talk about different other sectors. So here, sport becomes a vehicle to promote other sectors. Here, there are some figures about sports investment from the region in global football. And of course, you have the Manchester City, which is owned by Abu Dhabi, and you have München, 1860, Qatar, of course, investment in Malaga FC in Spain, and Paris Saint-Germain, and also Kuwait, they invested in Nottingham Forest. And we have seen now KSA, Saudi Arabia, they want to, because they were maybe a little bit lagging behind, they want to also get into direct investment in the football market. Those are some figures about to illustrate the competition, the fierce competition between airline company from the region in the GCC in terms of sponsoring mega, international sports events. The idea is, of course, to promote, Hamad International and other international airport as a hub, to attract all visitors coming, in the region, and to use it, as a transit for them to, then to travel to other continents, and why not, to experience, sports events in the region and to consume. When it comes to Qatar investment in sports, there are two, different types of, or pillars when it comes to investment. So, of course, you have sponsorship, of sports events. So, example of Qatar, companies such as Qatar Airways and Qatar National Bank and Ooredoo, they are very active in, using sports for the branding of their services and products, not only in Qatar but also internationally. And of course, you have also direct investment in sports through ownership, takeover of sports, international sports clubs such as Paris Saint-Germain, or even assets. For example, we had the Qatar.
Last 5 minutes, Doctor.
Okay, we have Qatar Sports Investment, which is the investment arm of Qatar when it comes to investment in sports. They invested in assets for the 2012 London Olympics, and then they turned this as as a business. Of course, we have sport TV broadcasting, beIN Sports, hosting of mega sports events. Qatar is hosting now about 60 international sports events, and we need more studies to find out about the impacts of those events. And there have been some attempts in relation to sports manufacturing with Burda, which is a local brand. I will move here just to say briefly that sport is not bright. There are still issues around sports, ethical issues that we need to tackle. Issues around corruption, doping, betting, discrimination, racism, violence, exploitation, restricted access, sometimes monopoly, inequality. So here, when we talk about sport investment, I think investors in sport have also the responsibility to push for the sports to change, and particularly when it comes to the values of principles of good governance. And this is important for those investors because they don't want to associate their brand with a sector which has which is not clear about its integrity. There are challenges. Challenges is to reconcile between local cultural norms and meeting stakeholder interest. And particularly we have some of the top sponsors of FIFA are alcohol beverage, which is questionable. If we consider sports, particularly its health and well-being values. So there are questions why alcohol is sponsoring football. But then if you are hosting international sports events, then you have to meet the interest of both the stakeholders, of course, the international sport organizations, but also your own local population. So the idea is how to reconcile between your cultural identity and investing in sports. There are, despite all, investing in sport, expose the nation to scrutiny, but this scrutiny can help in terms of pushing for more reforms. And we have seen in Qatar, there have been recently a number of reforms in the sporting sector.
Last minute, Doctor.
Yes. What is an issue that's still prevalent when it comes to investment of particularly Arab and Muslim countries in sports is still being, has been kind of constructed or still being debated from Orientalist point of view, and there are still some, when it comes to reporting about sports, it's being reported in Orientalist view. So, and I think this has to be changed because then the international sports arena, they need to accept that now there are Muslim and Arab countries that are investing in sports and they want to be visible, and this visibility is not a threat for them, but is an opportunity. Shukran jazilan.